I like to think of my teaching style as data-driven instruction. So one of the great things we all know about Grand Valley is that we are here for the students and we have those small classes and we have those connections with our students. And I transitioned to doing a large lecture course. And I had never done a large lecture where I was in person. I've only ever done large lecture in an online setting. But I wanted to succeed and find a way that I could still have that meaningful connection where my students still felt like they were in a 30-person classroom. And it came down to data and using data-driven analytics to really help me make that connection with my students. So the questions that when I would tell people I was going to go on this endeavor, they immediately asked is, how do you replace being in the classroom, seeing the student's face, and realizing they're not understanding you? So the analytics that I use to replace that is when they complete an assignment, I can open up the assignment like we just saw. I can see that data, how well the students did, what points within that assignment were they struggling with. And that gives me my key topic to then lecture on the next week. So it's immediate feedback. I may not be able to see them in the classroom, but within a 24-hour span, I'm recording a video, I'm giving them that topic, I'm answering those questions that I saw based on that data. So that's kind of my way that I use analytics to get that blank look from my students, because sometimes they don't want to ask, right? We know that they don't want to ask those questions. That's how I am informed on what of the topic that they're missing. Another thing that I use or that I got questions about was, how do you know when students are attending? How do you know if they're gone? How would you reach out to them if you think that they have a problem? So in classes, we sometimes might see a disheveled look, or a student who is always there on time and is now coming 10 minutes late, or someone who was always there on time and attended every class and all of a sudden stops coming to class. So I use data analytics again to kind of inform me on those items. I have them check in as part of my course. I have them check in twice a week. So if they are not checking in, and I do it different ways. Sometimes I have them do an assignment to check in. Sometimes I have them do a discussion board to check in. Sometimes I just have them log in. And I check to see if that's happened. And if it hasn't happened, I am like a bulldog in getting a hold of them. And I have a story to share about how well this worked for me. The first semester that I was teaching this large lecture, I had a student who never missed one of these check-ins. And all of a sudden she missed one. And within, maybe 3 hours of noticing that she had missed it, because I was looking through to make sure everyone had attended. So within about 3 hours afterwards, I immediately reached out to her and I said, you didn't attend, you're always attending, what's going on? Is there anything I can do? I didn't really get any feedback. In the middle of the night, I got feedback. I checked it first thing the next morning, but she was really honest and she says, I'm not okay. I am not okay. And you're the only one that's noticed that I haven't been coming to class. You're the only one who reached out to me. And immediately I went through all my university resources and I knew that I needed to send her information about the counseling center. I knew that I needed to make those calls and use Navigate to get someone to call her right away and get some contact with her right away. So within within probably an 18-hour period, we had identified that she was in need. She felt comfortable enough, because I had been communicating with the class so much through the semester, to give me that information. She felt like I cared enough, just like if I was in the classroom with her, and we were able to get her the help. She didn't end up finishing the class that semester, took an incomplete because of a mental health struggle that she was having, but I heard back from her the next semester and said, I'm only still at Grand Valley because you were just that one person that was close enough at that right time to kind of keep me here, which is so cool, right? As an educator, that's what we want to be. Like, we want our students, we care about them so much, and we really want that. And so the data, I think, although it seems really impersonal, can be a really personal thing. You know a lot about your students from this data. So I know that we've all experienced this creepy phenomenon, and I teach MIS, so I love creepy technology phenomenon. But this creepy phenomenon where we're at home and we're thinking about what we want for our birthday or whatever, lo and behold, you hear from your husband that he somehow was scrolling through Facebook and just happened to see the thing that you were, and you're thinking, wow, I didn't even tell him. Like, how would that happen? Who's listening to me or whatnot? Well, besides the technology that makes that work, I do the same thing for my students because they're really used to it, right? When my husband sees something on Facebook, or where I see something on Facebook, or where I see an ad that pops up and I'm like, well, ironically, I do need that stuff. Awesome. I'm going to take action on it. I set that up for my students. So when I see that they haven't done well on an assignment, I automatically send information to them, not only through Ultra, but I use Navigate. And I automatically send, like, you need a tutor. And the next thing you know, they're getting a call from the tutoring center. And they're far more likely to follow through on getting a tutor because someone reached out to them and they're like, oh, I didn't even know this was possible. Now someone's calling me about this. How amazing. Same thing with absences, or if they're sick, I'm like quickly into Navigate to prompt those things. The academic advising team comes around them, reaches out to them, propels them through the trouble that they're having, and that's all powered by data. So I kind of force feed them some of those things, but I've seen a lot of follow through. Students are far more likely to follow through on it. Same things with if I see that they're maybe falling behind and I want to get them where I need to go, I send them links right to PowerPoint or right to my Panopto video. And I see that they do end up watching it. So sometimes I think that maybe they just skipped over it really quickly, or maybe they just didn't remember, or, students are busy. But when I send them that link and I kind of give them that nudge of like, I see that you might want to watch this again, I do see that they click through and see it. So then the last thing I just want to point about is it seems like my whole teaching is all focused on the data, and I must have all this amount of time, right, to just follow up on the data and to mine the data and to slice it and dice it and everything like that. And I will say with Ultra, it's really not very time consuming at all. So much of it is so built into my workflow and what I would be doing anyway, like I would already be grading. So the extra step of just hitting the message takes no more time than it ever has before. Going to Navigate is 2 extra clicks, and making that connection with Navigate so the students get the university resources is just 2 more clicks. So it's not a lot of extra time. It's just thinking about what your workflow is going to be as you're using Ultra, that all these things kind of come right to your fingertips and makes it even more fruitful to use data-driven instruction.